When evening descends on the earth and the sky turns dark blue, a special train appears in the world. It's called the Quiet Dreams Train. This train does not run on ordinary roads. It runs on soft silver rails among the stars. Its cars glow with a warm, soft light, and the wheels make almost no sound, only quiet. Choo, choo. This train appears only when children start getting ready for bed. The train driver was a kind little bear. His name was Timo. He had a soft blue hat on his head, and he held a golden lantern in his paws. The flashlight shone very softly, so as not to wake anyone up. Every night, Timo went on a journey. He rode slowly, very slowly, to keep the night calm. The train made its first stop at a big cloud. A little puppy was sitting on the cloud. The puppy kept looking at the stars and could not fall asleep. The train stopped quietly. Timo the bear looked out the window. "Why aren't you sleeping?" he asked in a soft voice. The puppy said quietly, "I keep thinking about tomorrow." Timo smiled. "Tomorrow will come by itself, and now it's night." He raised his flashlight, and he said in a calm voice, "The night is quiet. The train is moving slowly. It's time to rest." The puppy yawned. He yawned again and curled up on the cloud. In a moment, he was already asleep. The train continued on its way. Choo, choo, choo. The rails glowed softly. The stars were quietly twinkling. The next stop was at the little moon swing. A bunny was sitting on it. She was swinging quietly and looking down at the ground. "Why aren't you sleeping?" Timo asked. The bunny replied, "I'm waiting for the night to become completely quiet." The bear cub looked around. The night was already soft and calm. He said quietly, "The night is quiet. The train is moving slowly. It's time to rest." The bunny closed her eyes. The swing swung again, and she quietly fell asleep. The train went on. Choo, choo. The wheels were almost inaudible. The cars glowed with a warm light, and soon the train pulled up to a big cloud bridge. A little owl was sitting on the bridge. She was looking at the stars. "Good night," said the owl. "Good night," Timo replied. "Are you helping everyone fall asleep again?" "Yes," said the bear cub quietly. He picked up the flashlight, and again he said, "The night is quiet. The train is moving slowly. It's time to rest. The owl smiled. She closed her eyes and quietly dozed off on the bridge. The train continued its journey. Choo, choo. The wheels were almost inaudible. The cars glowed with a warm light, and soon the train pulled up to a big cloud bridge. A little owl was sitting on the bridge. She was looking at the stars. "Good night," said the owl. "Good night," Timo replied. "Are you helping everyone fall asleep again?" "Yes," said the bear cub quietly. He picked up the flashlight, and again he said, "The night is quiet. The train is moving slowly. It's time to rest." The owl smiled. She closed her eyes and quietly dozed off on the bridge. The train continued its journey. Choo, choo. The stars became softer. The moon shone more calmly. The night grew deeper. Timo the bear looked up at the sky and whispered, "Good night, stars." The stars responded with a soft shimmer. The train pulled up at the last stop. It was special. This stop was next to the windows of the houses on the ground, where the children lay in their beds. The bear cub picked up the flashlight. Its light became very soft. He said quietly, "The night is quiet. The train is moving slowly. It's time to rest." And as if by magic, the houses became quieter. The children closed their eyes. The blankets became softer. Pillows became more comfortable, and sleep came very quickly. When everyone around fell asleep, the quiet dreams train continued its night journey. It was riding on the star rails, slowly, very slowly. Choo, choo, choo. Timo the bear cub also began to fall asleep. He put the flashlight next to him. He looked at the calm sky and quietly said, "The night is quiet. The train is moving slowly. Everyone is resting. It's time to sleep." His eyes slowly closed, and if you look at the stars at night, sometimes you can see a soft golden light. This is the quiet dreams train riding through the sky. Very quiet, very slowly, to make the night peaceful, and so that everyone dreams the warmest dreams. In a quiet town, there stood an old tower with a large round clock. During the day, the clock ticked loudly. Tick-tock, tick-tock. People looked at it and knew when to go to work, when to go for a walk, and when to return home. But at night, something special happened. When the town fell asleep and the streets grew quiet, a little timekeeper woke up inside the clock. His name was Lyro. Lyro was a tiny man in a soft blue cloak. He had a tiny golden lamp and soft footsteps that could barely be heard. Every night, he would step out of the clock and check if everything was ready for a peaceful sleep. First, Lyro looked at the sky. If the stars twinkled calmly, it meant the night would be quiet. If the wind was gentle, it meant sleep would be deep. Lyro would smile and say softly, "The night is calm. Time is slowing down. It is time to rest." After that, he began his nightly journey through the town. First, he went to a small park. A kitten was sitting on a bench. The kitten was staring at the streetlights and just couldn't fall asleep. Lyro came closer. "Why aren't you sleeping?" he asked gently. The kitten replied quietly, "I keep thinking about what will happen tomorrow." Lyro lifted his lamp. Its light became warm and soft, and he said, "The night is calm. Time is slowing down. It is time to rest." The kitten yawned. He yawned again, curled into a ball on the bench, and quietly fell asleep. Lyro walked further down the quiet street. In the window of one house, he saw a little puppy. The puppy was lying on a rug, listening to the night sounds. He was a little worried. Lyro tapped quietly on the glass. The puppy looked at him. "Everything is fine," Lyro said. He lifted his lamp again and said quietly, "The night is calm. Time is slowing down. It is time to rest." The puppy took a deep breath, slowly exhaled, and rested his head on his paws. A moment later, he was already asleep. Now the town was becoming even quieter. The streetlights shone softly. The trees barely moved. Lyro walked slowly across the bridge over a small river. The water flowed quietly. The stars were reflected in the river. He stopped and whispered, "Good night, town." But up ahead, he saw someone. A little owl was sitting on the roof of a house. She was looking at the moon. "Are you checking on the night again?" the owl asked. "Yes," Lyro replied. "Everything must be calm so that everyone sleeps well." He lifted his lamp once more and said, "The night is calm. Time is slowing down. It is time to rest." The owl closed her eyes and quietly dozed off on the roof. Now the whole town was asleep. The kitten was sleeping in the park. The puppy was sleeping on the rug. The owl was sleeping on the roof. Even the wind had become very quiet. Lero slowly returned to the clock tower. He climbed back inside. He placed his lamp nearby. He looked at the stars through the large, round window and whispered, "The night is calm. Time is quiet. Everyone is resting. It is time to sleep." After that, he tucked himself away inside the clock once more, and the clock continued its quiet movement. Tick, tock, tick, tock. But now their sound was soft and peaceful, and the town slept a deep, sound sleep. And if you listen very closely at night, you can hear the old clock whispering, "The night is calm. Time is slow. You can rest. You can sleep." And then the warmest dream arrives. Far beyond the green meadows and quiet forests, there flowed a small, peaceful river. The water in the river was very clear. It flowed slowly, very slowly. Every night, a small wooden boat sailed along this river. Her name was Lumina. The boat was special. A small golden lantern hung from her bow. It shone with a soft, warm light, not brightly, not quickly, but calmly. The boat appeared only at night, when the world became still and quiet. And her task was very important. She helped the night become even more peaceful. Every evening, when the first stars appeared in the sky, the boat began her slow journey down the river. The water rustled quietly. A light breeze barely touched the surface, and the boat drifted silently forward. Sometimes you could hear her soft movement. Splash, shh, splash, shh. But these were very quiet sounds, so quiet that they only helped you fall asleep. One night, the boat noticed a little duckling. The duckling was swimming in the river and just couldn't stop. He kept circling and circling in the water. The boat drifted closer. Her lantern softly illuminated the water. "Why aren't you sleeping?" the boat asked in a quiet voice. The duckling replied, "I keep thinking about tomorrow." The boat smiled with her warm light and said softly, "The river is calm. The night is quiet. It is time to rest." The duckling slowed his swimming, then even slower. he swam to the reeds, and there he quietly fell asleep. The boat continued her journey. The water became even calmer. The stars were reflected in the river like tiny lights. After a while, the boat saw a little beaver. The beaver was sitting on the bank, looking at the water. "Why aren't you sleeping?" the boat asked. The beaver said quietly, "I am listening to the river." The boat swayed gently on the water. Her lantern shone softly and warmly. And she said, "The river is calm. The night is quiet. It is time to rest." The beaver took a deep breath. He exhaled slowly. Then he lay down on the soft grass and quietly fell asleep. The boat drifted further, very slowly. The water became smooth like a mirror. The moon rose higher, and suddenly the boat saw a little firefly. The firefly was flying over the water and just couldn't stop. He kept flying and flying. The boat drifted closer. Her lantern softly illuminated the air around him. "The night is quiet," the boat said. "The river is calm. It is time to rest." The firefly slowed his flight. Then he landed on a water lily leaf, and his tiny light became soft. He quietly fell asleep. Now the whole river had become very still. The duckling was sleeping by the reeds. The beaver was sleeping on the bank. The firefly was sleeping on the leaf. Even the wind had almost stopped moving. The boat continued to drift, very slowly, very calmly. Finally, she reached the quietest spot on the river. There, the water was smooth as glass. The stars were reflected in it like tiny lanterns. The little boat came to a stop. Her golden lantern began to shine even more softly. She looked at the peaceful river and whispered, "The river is calm. The night is quiet. Everyone is resting. It is time to sleep." After that, the boat began to rest too. She swayed gently on the water, to the left, then to the right, very slowly, very calmly. And if you listen closely to the quiet river at night, you can hear the soft whisper of the water. The river is calm. The night is quiet. You can rest. You can sleep. And then the warmest and sweetest dream arrives. When the day slowly ends and the sky turns deep blue, a special garden appears in a quiet place. This garden is called the Garden of Quiet Dreams. During the day, almost no one notices it, but at night it becomes soft, glowing, and very peaceful. Unusual flowers grow in this garden. Each flower glows with a warm, golden light, and among them, a little fairy slowly flies. Her name is Leia. Leia has transparent wings like a dragonfly, and a soft radiance surrounds her. Every night, she flies around the garden and helps everyone around fall asleep. She flies very slowly, very quietly, and her wings make almost no sound. Sometimes you can only hear a soft shh, shh, but this sound is so peaceful that it only helps you relax. One evening, Leia saw a little rabbit. The rabbit was sitting by a flower, looking at the stars. He just wouldn't go to sleep. The fairy quietly flew closer. "Why aren't you sleeping?" she asked in a soft voice. The rabbit sighed. "I'm thinking about how much there is to do tomorrow." Leia smiled. She lightly touched the flower nearby. The flower began to glow even more softly, and the fairy said in a calm voice, "The night is quiet, the garden is peaceful, it is time to rest." The rabbit took a deep breath. Then he exhaled slowly. He curled up into a small, fluffy ball near the flower, and a moment later, he was already fast asleep. Leia continued her journey through the garden. The night grew deeper. The flowers glowed more softly, and suddenly the fairy saw a little squirrel. The squirrel was sitting on a branch, quietly twitching her tail. "Why aren't you sleeping?" Leia asked. The squirrel said, "I am listening to the night forest." The fairy landed gently nearby. She spread her wings and said quietly, "The night is quiet. The garden is peaceful. It is time to rest." The squirrel looked at the stars. Then she closed her eyes, and her tail stopped moving. The squirrel fell fast asleep on the branch. The fairy continued to fly among the flowers. Tiny lights flickered softly. The wind barely moved. Everything was becoming calmer and calmer. Soon, Leia noticed a little hedgehog. The hedgehog was walking along the path, quietly rustling the leaves. The fairy flew up to him. "Why aren't you resting?" she asked. The hedgehog said, "I am looking for the coziest spot to sleep." Leia pointed to a soft pile of leaves under a large flower. The leaves looked very warm and comfortable. The fairy said quietly, "The night is quiet. The garden is peaceful. It is time to rest." The hedgehog settled into the leaves. He curled into a ball and almost immediately fell asleep. Now the whole garden was becoming completely still. The rabbit was sleeping by the flower. The squirrel was sleeping on the branch. The hedgehog was sleeping in the soft leaves. Even the flowers seemed to begin to rest. Their light became very soft. Leia flew slowly over the garden. Her wings moved slower and slower. She looked up at the starry sky. The stars flickered softly. The moon shone calmly and quietly. The fairy smiled and whispered, "Good night, garden." Leia found a large, glowing flower in the very center of the garden. She gently sat on its petal. The flower swayed lightly in the night breeze. Very slowly, very calmly, the fairy closed her eyes, but before falling asleep, she whispered, "The night is quiet, the garden is peaceful, everyone is resting. It is time to sleep." Her wings stopped moving, and the little fairy fell asleep too. The night became completely still. The flowers glowed with a soft golden light. The moon drifted slowly across the sky, and the entire magical garden slept a peaceful sleep. If you listen very quietly, you can hear the soft whisper of the flowers. The night is quiet. The garden is peaceful. You can rest. You can sleep. And then the softest and warmest dream arrives. When evening quietly comes to the city and the street lights turn on with a soft yellow glow, an old building at the edge of the street begins to live a special life. This is the old library. During the day, people come here to read books. But at night, a true miracle happens. When the last footsteps fade away, the doors quietly close, and the moon rises high in the sky, a little guardian of stories wakes up in the library. His name is Nori. Nori is a tiny, fluffy owlet with soft, silvery feathers. He wears tiny, round glasses on his nose, and in his paws he holds a little lantern. The lantern shines very softly, not brightly, but calmly and warmly. Every night, Nori flies around the library and checks to make sure all the stories are resting peacefully. In the library, are long shelves of books, so many books. Fairy tales, adventures, stories about stars, forests, and seas. But at night, the books come to life just a little bit. And sometimes they quietly rustle their pages. Shh. But Nori always says to them in a calm voice, "The night is quiet. The books are resting. It is time to sleep." And the books immediately become still. One night, Nori heard a quiet sound. Shh. He flew over to one of the shelves. A tiny new book was lying there. It was trembling slightly. "Why aren't you sleeping?" the owlet asked softly. The book whispered quietly, "I'm a little worried." "Why?" Nori asked. "I'm still brand new. I don't know if they will like my stories." Nori smiled. He sat down beside it and raised his lantern. The warm light softly illuminated the pages, and the owlet said, "The night is quiet. The books are resting. It is time to sleep." The book stopped trembling. Its pages slowly closed, and it quietly fell asleep. Nori flew further between the shelves. The lantern softly illuminated the books. The library became even more peaceful. Suddenly, the owlet saw a large old book. It was very thick and heavy, but its pages were moving slightly. Nori landed on the shelf. "Are you awake too?" he asked. The old book replied quietly, "I am remembering my stories." "Those are good memories," Nori said. He gently touched the cover with his wing and said in a calm voice, "The night is quiet. The books are resting. It is time to sleep." The old book quietly closed, and its pages rustled no more. Nori continued to fly through the library. He flew over the tables, over the soft armchairs, over the high shelves. The moon shone through a large window. Silver light fell upon the books, and the library became even more peaceful. The owlet whispered quietly, "Good night, stories." Soon everything around became very still. The new books were sleeping. The old books were resting too. Even the pages no longer rustled. Nori slowly flew to his favorite spot. It was a high shelf next to a large round window. From there, he could see the moon and the stars. The owlet placed his little lantern nearby. He settled in comfortably and looked at the night sky. Before falling asleep, Nori said quietly, "The night is quiet. The stories are resting. The library is peaceful. It is time to sleep." He closed his eyes, and his wings softly came to rest. The moon shone through the window. The shelves stood still. The books slept in their places, and the old library rested quietly until the very morning. And if you listen very closely, you can hear the pages whisper, "The night is quiet. The stories are sleeping. You can rest. You can sleep." And then the warmest and most peaceful dream arrives. And then the warmest and most peaceful dream arrives. As evening gently descends and the sky turns deep blue, high above the cities and forests, a quiet journey begins. There, among the clouds, a hot air balloon floats slowly. But this is no ordinary balloon. It's called the balloon of quiet clouds. Its basket is made of warm, light wood, and the balloon itself glows with a soft, golden light. This balloon only flies at night. It appears when the world begins to fall asleep. And it's piloted by a kind little raccoon named Milo. Milo has a soft, striped tail, a warm hat, and a small flashlight. The flashlight glows very quietly so as not to wake anyone. Every night, Milo rises into the sky in his balloon and slowly floats among the clouds. Very slowly, very quiet. Sometimes all you can hear is the soft rustling of the wind. Shh. But this sound is so calm that it only helps you relax. One night, Milo noticed a small cloud. It kept moving and wouldn't stop. The raccoon brought the balloon closer. "Why aren't you resting?" Milo asked softly. The cloud quietly replied, "I can't find a quiet place." Milo smiled. He lowered the balloon a little and turned on his flashlight. A warm light softly illuminated the cloud, and Milo said in a calm voice, "The sky is calm, the clouds are calm. It's time to rest." The cloud slowed. Then it moved even slower. And soon it came to a restful stop next to the other clouds. A moment later, it was resting quietly. The hot air balloon continued its journey. It floated slowly across the night sky. The moon shone softly. The stars twinkled softly. And suddenly, Milo saw a small bird. The bird was flying in circles around the moon. It looked a little tired. Milo brought the balloon closer. "Why aren't you sleeping?" he asked. The bird replied, "I keep flying and I can't stop." Milo raised the lantern a little higher, and again, in a soft voice, he said, "The sky is quiet, the clouds are calm, it's time to rest." The bird slowly descended onto a soft cloud. It folded its wings and soon fell asleep. The hot air balloon rose higher and higher. The wind became very light. The sky became very calm. Milo sat in the basket and quietly gazed at the stars. He loved the night sky because at night everything slows down, quieter, calmer. After a while, Milo saw a small star. The star shone a little faster than the others. It trembled slightly. The raccoon quietly brought the balloon closer. "Everything is fine," he said softly. He lifted the flashlight and quietly said, "The sky is calm, the clouds are quiet, time to rest." The star's light became softer, its light became calm, and it stopped trembling. Now the sky was completely quiet. The clouds were resting. The bird was sleeping. The stars twinkled softly. The balloon floated slowly on, very slowly, very calmly. Finally, Milo found his favorite spot among the clouds. There, the clouds were soft and large. He carefully stopped the balloon. The flashlight's light became even softer. Milo looked at the calm night sky and quietly said, "The sky is calm. The clouds are calm. Everyone is resting. Time to sleep." After that, he curled up in the balloon's basket. He pulled his warm hat over his head and closed his eyes. The balloon swayed gently in the sky, left, then right, very slowly, very calmly. The stars shone softly. The moon quietly illuminated the clouds, and the entire night sky was at rest. If you look high into the sky at night, sometimes you can see a tiny golden light. It's the ball of quiet clouds floating among the stars, very quietly, very slowly. May the night be peaceful, and may everyone have the warmest dreams. In a forest far, far away, where trees whispered to each other and flowers closed their petals to the wind's lullaby, lived a small animal named Cloud. Cloud was unusual. His fur glowed with a soft silver light, and on his paws were tiny, fluffy slippers that made no sound. Cloud was the guardian of stardust. His task was very important. When the sun set, he was to spread silence and sweet dreams throughout the world. The evening was quiet. The sun had already touched the edge of the earth, painting the sky in peach and violet hues. Cloud took out his small pouch, woven from moonlight. Inside the pouch, stardust shimmered, tiny sparks that brought peace. "It's time," Cloud whispered. His voice was like the rustling of leaves. He left his little house in the old oak tree. His first stop was Dandelion Glade. It was bustling during the day. Bees buzzed, grasshoppers hopped, and flowers reached for the light. But now everything was quiet. Cloud carefully passed the sleepy flowers. He tossed a pinch of dust into the air, and it settled slowly, like snowflakes, onto the petals. The dandelions bowed their heads, closed their eyes, and sank into a deep, sweet slumber. Little Cloud's path led further to the great cedar. There, on the highest branch, lived the wise owl. The owl usually stayed awake at night, but even he needed rest sometimes. "Hello, little Cloud," the owl hooted, his eyes glowing like two small lanterns. "Hello, owl. I brought you a little starry piece," the little creature replied. He held out a fluffy feather dipped in moon dew to the owl. The owl touched it with his beak, and his eyelids grew very heavy. "Thank you," he murmured. "Now I will dream of flying over silver lakes." Little Cloud smiled and continued on. He felt the forest around him fall asleep. Even the breeze stopped playing with the branches and settled down for the night in the thick grass. Soon, Little Cloud reached the bank of the River of Mirror Dreams. The water was so calm that all the stars were reflected in it. Little Frog sat on the shore. He couldn't fall asleep. "Why aren't you sleeping?" Little Cloud asked quietly. "I keep thinking about tomorrow," Little Frog replied. "What if I can't manage the jump over the big lily pad?" Little Cloud sat down next to her. He knew that fears often interfere with sleep. He took the brightest golden spark from his pouch. "Look at this spark, Little Frog. It holds the power of calm. Tomorrow will be tomorrow, and now is the time to rest. When you sleep, your strength grows and your thoughts become clear. Close your eyes and imagine that you are a light leaf floating down the current of this calm river." Little Frog closed his eyes. He listened to the measured murmur of the water. Gurgle, gurgle, bye-bye. The cloud gently touched him with its paw, and the frog finally yawned sweetly and fell asleep, curled up in the soft moss. After crossing the river, the guardian of stardust, climbed a high hill. From here, the valley of the cloud lambs was visible. These were special creatures. They were composed of soft mist. Every night, they gathered together to warm the earth with their warmth. Cloudy approached the leader of the lambs. "Is everyone ready to rest?" he asked. "Yes, we've already combed our wool of mist," the lamb replied. "We're only missing the final spark." Cloudy waved his cause, and a soft glow spread over the valley. The lambs began to slowly circle, creating a fluffy blanket that covered the entire land to the horizon. Beneath this blanket, it was warm and cozy. The earth began to breathe evenly and calmly. Cloudy's pouch was almost empty. Only one tiny spark remained for himself. Little Cloud felt his paws grow heavy and his fluffy tail droop toward the ground. He slowly trudged back to his oak tree. Along the way, he saw the fox cubs sleeping in their den, huddled close to each other. He saw Old Bear fall asleep, tucked under his paw. The whole world was enveloped in silence and tenderness. Returning to his house, Little Cloud took off his slippers and carefully placed them by the entrance. He climbed into his crib made of soft swan's down. "Sleep, little friends," he whispered, addressing all the children of the world. "Dreams will bring you tales of miracles, of kind heroes, and of magical lands. And tomorrow morning, the sun will awaken you again with its warm rays." Little Cloud emitted a final spark. It illuminated his room with a soft glow and slowly faded. Little Cloud closed his eyes, his breathing deep and even. The forest fell completely silent. Only the stars in the sky continued their eternal dance, guarding the peace of all who slept. Sleep too, my dear. May you have the kindest and most magical dreams. Once upon a time, there lived a little sleepy snail. She had a shell-shaped house painted with patterns of moonlight. Every evening, when the first star appeared in the sky, the snail would set off on her leisurely journey across a burdock leaf. She crawled very slowly. Shh, shh. A tiny silver bell hung on her back, but it didn't ring loudly, instead emitting a barely audible whisper. "Time to sleep, time to sleep." The snail peeked at a grasshopper hiding under a blade of grass. She touched him with her soft antenna, and the grasshopper stopped playing his violin. He yawned sweetly and covered himself with dew like a blanket. Then the snail crawled to a fluffy bumblebee. The bumblebee had been buzzing and working all day. and now sat inside the closed bud of a bellflower. The snail whispered to him, "Your gold is falling asleep. Your wings are resting." And the bumblebee instantly fell asleep. The snail herself felt her home become very cozy and warm. She curled up inside her mother-of-pearl shell. It smelled of wildflowers and the cool evening air. The world around her became very quiet. The trees stood still, the breeze fell asleep in the branches, and the fog covered the earth with soft cotton wool. The snail closed her eyes and dreamed of a large garden where sweet clouds lay instead of stones. Close your eyes too. Your pillow is a soft cloud, and your blanket is a warm fairy tale. Sleep sweetly.